Welcome to the hottest real estate topics on the planet, keeping you up to date with all the creative ways to buy and sell real estate without bank qualifying, so anyone can build real income starting today. Here is another great show with Dealmaker Bill and Pete the Rookie.
All right, here we are at another episode of Flipping Houses for Rookies.
And professionals, and deal makers, and dealologists, and wannabes, and has-beens, and would-bees, and could-bees, and I don't understand any of this, but I listen anyways. Did I miss anybody?
How about the successful guys?
The successful guys.
You should have put that at the top of the list.
Well, that's what I did, the professionals.
Oh, the professionals.
Yeah,
okay,
professionals.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, per definition, one who makes money at whatever the hell.
So we got to do a little bit of housekeeping here before we get started, okay? Naomi's not with us. She's off doing some inspection or something with one of her apartments or whatever she's doing, and she's all worried about it, so she's there with the inspector.
Uh-huh.
So that's number one. Number two, if I'm not mistaken, it might very well be possible that tomorrow's your birthday. He's sinking in his chair.
It's easy to do that, yeah.
We should have had Emma. I should have had her cue up Happy Birthday as a song.
No, the Beatles' Birthday.
Birthday?
Yeah. It's a much better birthday song.
Is it?
Yeah.
Well, happy birthday.
Well, thanks.
So if anybody wants to wish Peter happy birthday,
Just scroll.
you can go to flippinghousesforrookies.com and go into contact us, or just send an email to info@flippinghousesforrookies.com, and we'll make sure you get all your birthday wishes.
That'd be fine. You know what I want for my birthday?
Tell me.
Leads.
Leads.
It's my new one, you know.
There you go.
My wife says, well, I bought a shirt and I bought a pair of pants.
Yeah.
Bought a pair of shorts.
How about mail some letters?
Huh? Yeah, but we did. Put a bunch in the mail yesterday.
Good.
Yeah, we're doing that.
Perfect.
Staples, more yellow letters, more paper, stamps, and envelopes,
Sure. All right, happy birthday.
Thank
Let's
you so
move
much.
on. We're at episode number 103.
Yeah.
103. And today's episode name is Common Lies Most Investors Believe That Keep Them Poor, Peter.
Wow. Common lies that most investors believe that keep them poor.
That's the name of today's title. What do you think?
Yeah. You operate on what you believe.
Right.
Not necessarily what you know. What you know, but what you believe is the same as what you know. If you
what you think.
Yeah, you think, you believe, you know. It could be the same thing to somebody, but you got to get a difference. What's really, really true and what maybe you should figure out and find out. So, but if you're operating on lies, it ain't going to work out good.
Well, let's put it this way. Let's give a really good example of what you just said.
Uh-huh.
I think I need to go to the gym.
You can keep thinking that.
And I might talk about it, and I might convince everybody around me about it.
Yeah.
But what do I actually do? When the alarm clock goes off at 6 o'clock in the morning and it's time for me to go to the gym, what happens?
Snooze alarm.
That's when you figure out whether you believe or not.
Yep.
So there's a difference between thinking and believing.
Oh, yeah.
Good. So that's a good point.
Mm-hmm.
Let's carry on. Title: Common Lies Most Investors Believe That Keep Them Poor. Here's the description. Oh, it's a big one. I gotta put it up
Clear your
closer to
throat.
my eyes.
Get your water ready. Go for it.
Most would like to or need to get profit checks from real estate investing in days, not years. If this is you, then this podcast is exactly what the doctor ordered and is completely talking to you. If you are worried about how to get through a deal so you can get paid, you're in the right place. Maybe you think you can't figure out, do that again. Maybe you think you can't figure out property value and have anxiety that you will overpay.
Mm.
Perhaps you think you might lay awake at night wondering how to pay the bills for this property, especially once you buy it. Truth is, these voices in your own head are holding you back. Listen into this podcast to answer these questions and feel more confident you can do it. That's today's show. What do you think, Peter?
I think I saw somebody on Facebook trying to say something like that, like how to figure out deals.
Yep.
But he didn't have your exact formulas,
Okay.
your exact 7 strategies of buying a property,
Right.
and the formulas for each to know that you're in the right ballpark. So you don't have to worry about it.
Right.
And you have all that.
That's right. So let's talk about before all of that, though.
Yeah.
Okay. Can you silence my phone so I don't have attention on that? It keeps zinging. Thank you, sweetheart.
Ding.
My phone is in the background.
Mm-hmm.
Ding, 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 ding. And I will have my attention on that. All right. So what happens before you need the formulas, before you need any of that stuff, you yourself actually have to believe a guy like me or a guy like you or someone like Naomi or even yourself can do it. You have to have just a little bit of confidence and faith in yourself. If you don't, then I can talk till I'm blue in the face with those formulas. I could talk about this for, well, I know this much, Peter.
Mm-hmm.
You and I have talked about it for a minimum of 103 hours. And most of our podcasts are an hour and 50 minutes, an hour and 10 minutes. So it's probably more like 110 hours to help people buy houses.
Yeah.
So if you're one of those people that have been listening to this podcast and you have not done anything yet or have not generated a profit check after 103 hours or 105 hours or 110 hours, whatever it is,
Which is 2 years.
which is 2 years worth of podcasts, then we're talking to you right now.
Yeah.
You don't believe it, because if you believed it, if you really, truly believed it, at least some of it, you wouldn't be just listening. You would have done something. Even if it was did something and made a mistake, you would have done
But not
something.
a costly mistake.
That's right.
Not a mistake that costs you money. Because you can do this and start at the beginning of one of the systems that don't require a lot of money or any money, and just start doing the steps. And then if you screw up, you stop, and you didn't lose any money. You got some experience, you got some knowledge, you got some a few steps into the business, you did something.
Right.
And you can get further next time. At worst.
Right.
At worst.
Right.
You know what's too bad? It's too bad that no one's ever made money in real estate. No one's ever bought a house, renovated it, sold it. No one's ever done a lease. I mean, it's never been done. It's
Right.
really too bad that you're trying to convince people of something that's never been done, and they're
Right.
not quite sure if it can be done because it's never, ever been done.
Right.
And you keep trying to convince people, but no one's ever done it.
Right.
And you expect them to be the first one. You're asking a lot, Mr. Hawthorne.
Sarcasm taken.
You good. People say to me, "Oh, you're in real estate?" And most people say, "Oh, that's cool," because they totally get it, right? And I say, "Well, what's the big deal? Look outside. House, 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 house for sale, bought, bought, bought. Everywhere you look, there's houses.
Right.
It's like trying to sell air."
So I didn't write this down. I actually have I have notes today. I've been writing notes lately so we stay on track. I think I have 4 or 5 myths that people tell themselves. But you just brought one up that I didn't think of.
What?
Well, I thought of, but I didn't think of it till right now.
Uh-huh.
We're not in the house business.
Uh-huh.
We're not in the real estate business.
Uh-huh.
We really aren't.
Uh-uh.
And my stupid little saying is I've never been to a closing and saw a house sign the paperwork.
Yeah.
I've never seen a house sign the documents. We're in the people business, and we're in the marketing business, which, by the way, marketing talks to people.
Right. You can't market to a house.
Right. So, honest to God, we can start the show and end the show right now with this one little saying. You know how to become a multimillionaire in real estate? How to become a real estate tycoon, or as I put in one of my podcasts or one of our podcasts, how to be the Donald Trump in your family as a real estate person.
Yeah.
It's just as simple. Make offers to motivated sellers. Make offers to motivated sellers. Say it again. Make offers to motivated sellers. And something will happen. Now, how do you get motivated sellers? Or how do you find them?
Mm-hmm.
And that's the marketing.
Mm-hmm.
What is a motivated seller? There's another good question.
Mm-hmm.
A motivated seller is usually someone that has a house that's a problem, that's causing a problem for them, and they want to get rid of it. Like often we use probate as a good example.
Yeah.
Right. Mommy and daddy passed away, and now you're left. You're a 40-year-old child, or 50-year-old, or 30-year-old, whatever age, and you have your life already, and you already have a house, and you and your siblings are like living your life, and all of a sudden you got to go spend the summer or the winter cleaning mommy and daddy's 40 years worth of crap out of their house to make sure that you didn't leave some heirloom behind, and then turn around and try to sell it. And oh yeah, by the way, you're trying to sell an ugly house, because most of the time mommy and daddy lived there for 30 or 40 years and didn't do renovations. Really nice house, a lot of memories, but they only work for you. They don't work for the new buyer. Right?
Yeah, it's we've seen a number of those lately. It's really sad because a lot of them are nice big houses. They're laid out fairly well. Yep. And it's just so dated, and the lawn's a mess, the landscaping, they just can't fix things up. And it's sad because it's a house that's been neglected.
Right.
They didn't mean to, but you just couldn't handle it.
Right. So that's a good example of a house becoming a problem.
Yeah.
Another one is, not that this is a huge problem, but a lot of times what happens in our society is, so you're married, you have some kids. I know what happened to me. I was with my first wife for 16 years, had 2 kids, and then next thing you know, we're divorced. Right?
Yeah.
I now have another wife by 18 years, right, or 17 years, but the point is that when I left my first wife, we had a house, right?
Sure.
So what happens to that house? It becomes a problem, because not both of you could live in it.
Mm-hmm.
Or better yet, you go through the divorce and you end up with the house and you live there, and you're kind of like going along, and a year or 2 later, whatever, you find somebody else, and next thing you know, you find yourself spending 4, 5, 6 nights a week at that house with them, right? And you're like, after several months, you're like, I really don't need that payment.
Right.
Right? They're not desperate, because a lot of people associate motivated with desperate. It's a big difference.
No.
At the end of the day, a motivated seller is nothing more or nothing less than somebody that wants help. They want help to sell their house. That's a motivated seller. And that's what you're looking for. Mm-hmm. Someone that wants help.
You also taught me that asking them when they want to move is huge.
Yeah.
Like if, next year sometime, well, they're not in a hurry.
Right.
But like, right away or next month or in 2 months, they're in a hurry. So they need a fast solution that you usually can't get conventionally. There's no guarantees of that. When you're standing right in front of them, I'll buy the house now.
Valid point. That's a great question to ask someone to find out if they're motivated.
Yep.
I'll never forget. I think it's, I forgot his first name, Dr. Singer, the chiropractor in Florida. David Singer, is it?
Oh, maybe.
Yeah. So I remember one time I was doing some marketing for a chiropractor, and I was listening to some of his materials, and he used to say, oh yeah, when you're walking around, just put your hand out and greet someone and just say to them, how you feeling today? And depending on their answer is whether or not you should talk about chiropractic work.
Yeah.
Was a great qualifier.
Yeah.
Right? So our qualifier is, when did you want to move by?
Yeah.
It's a great qualifier. Oh, you have a house for sale. Oh, good. Let them talk about the house, and then just ask this question.
Mm-hmm.
When did you want to move by? Oh, I was thinking that I got to get out by next month. Well, then you have a motivated seller, or a potential of a motivated seller.
Yeah, and it could be any one of the reasons you just stated.
Yeah.
But that's kind of the bottom line, isn't it? Just like, if it's fast, there's something going on.
Right.
There's a reason.
Right.
There's some funny reasons too.
Yeah. So we kind of diverted a little bit here for a couple of minutes, but I think it was good because, some of the marketing that we do, and I talk about that. We've talked about that many shows. For sale by owners is a great place. We mail yellow letters, and we do signs. That's about all we do these days. Mm-hmm. All right, let's talk about another myth, if you would. Mm-hmm. All right.
What was the first one?
So the first one was one that you brought up, which was, I don't know, what was the first one? Oh, being motivated, finding motivated sellers, right? Mm-hmm. So what most people don't realize is this: you have to find motivated sellers.
Right.
And the point is that when you're buying real estate, that you're looking for a person, not a house.
Right.
Often people are looking for the houses, thinking that the house is going to get them to a motivated seller. But most people, when they're looking for real estate, don't even realize that they have to find a motivated seller. They think they just need to find the house.
Yeah.
So they'll find an ugly house on the MLS or something like that and think, oh, I got one. And they don't, because they don't know the situation of the person that has to sign the deed.
Mm-hmm.
So we go at it a little bit different. We cast our net looking for the people that are closer to wanting to sign the deed than most.
Yeah, and to me, working with you, that just means that they're flexible, that when
Right.
you offer different ways of buying and selling the house, they'll be more open to following that,
Right.
as opposed to people we've seen that just, they have a number and they're not budging. They're not flexible.
Right.
They just stubborn or whatever you want to call them. They just won't work with you.
Right.
So you can't work with them if they're not flexible.
Right. Matter of fact, I'm in the middle of selling a house right now, which stopped last night. So I'm selling a house for $299. They came back with an offer of $285. I tried to negotiate. They were like, "Nope, we're at $285. That's our highest and best." It's actually the realtor, I believe. I don't think it's the buyer, but the realtor. They think that the realtor thinks that she's like God's gift to like negotiation. Anyways, long story short, I said to my realtor, okay, so $285 works as long as I don't have to do anything for inspection. So I kind of sat on it for 2 or 3 days. I felt like I was being held hostage. It just was not a good negotiating. But it's like, you know what? I got room in the deal. I'm going to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Or after 3 days of trying to convince myself, I finally talked myself into it. So I go back and I tell the realtor, I know that you can't put this in writing, but I'm going to tell you right now, if they come back with any kind of inspection problems or anything like that, they're going to get shut down like cold turkey.
Yep.
It's just not going to happen.
Yep.
Well, sure enough, what happened? They came back and told me that the air conditioning wasn't working and that they wanted a brand new furnace and a brand new air conditioning system, which is $15,000 worth of stuff. Long story short, I tell them, okay, well, I try not to make decisions unless I have all the data. I'm like, I don't think I have all the data. So I sent my HVAC guy out there. Well, he was in Florida when I called him, blah, blah, blah. He couldn't get there till Wednesday. This was on a Thursday or a Friday. They're giving me the offer. So I pretty much told the realtor, well, nothing's going to happen until my guy comes back. You know, when my heating, ventilation, and air conditioning guy, HVAC guy, comes back, he'll look at it, right? Long story short, he goes out there and find out that the air conditioning, whoever built the whatever, did the house, serviced it, whatever, they put the switch in, the power switch in upside down. So when it said on, it was really off, and when it was off, it really said on.
I have a furnace like that.
Yeah.
I think we fixed it, but it was opposite.
So the inspector, I don't know if that's what happened with the inspector, but that was one of the things that. So he's like, you know, for $400 or $500, I can service everything and it'll run fine. He says the stuff works great. He says it is older, but it works great.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay. So I called back the realtor and I said to her, you know, I said, give me a price to the HVAC guy. He gave me a price. It was like, I don't know, $9 or $10 something like that, which is lower than $15 if you bought for retail.
Oh, if he put a new one in?
Replace the furnace and air conditioning, right?
Oh, yeah.
So anyways, I went back to the realtor and said, I'm willing to do the repairs if they want to participate. So I'll give them $5,000. They give me the $4 or $5,000. You know, in other words, I'll reduce my price by $4 or $5,000, and I can either give it to them in credit or however they want to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Bottom line was, they came back and said, "No, we don't want $5,000. We want you to take $12,000, put it in escrow, and we're going to hire our own contractor." And that was their response. So I said to my realtor, "Now I've been messing with this for over a week." And I just said to my realtor, just tell them to send a release on the contract and put the house was on the market 2 days before I took this contract.
Yeah.
So I just tell them to send a release. I'm done.
Yeah. That's terrible.
But it's the exact opposite of what we're talking about, because we're talking about acquiring properties. In this particular case, I have a suspect buyer.
Yeah, not a motivated buyer.
Yeah, they're not.
Hey, Bill, how do we
flexible.
find motivated buyers?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, that's
a whole nother
our other
thing.
system.
Yeah,
It's
a whole nother
motivated
thing.
buyers.
That's right.
I never looked at it that way.
Yeah,
But our lease option system is finding motivated buyers.
that's right.
No wonder that's a good way to do this.
Yes.
Holy cow. Because, you know, I'm experiencing the same thing with our other house, Manchester. Like, yes, no, yes, no. Like, well, Jesus, take it or leave it. I mean, we haven't had too many complaints, but it's not sold yet.
Right.
Too fussy, some people.
So that kind of segues right into, I didn't mean it to happen this way, but right into the next question, which is, or statement, that you have to wait to make money in real estate.
Mm.
Right? So One of the things I had put in the summary is maybe you need checks now, in days, not years. Okay, so most think, and I'd like for you to elaborate on this because I know you have a whole little thing about
I went
this.
when you said that. First I said, go ahead.
Most think it takes 20 or 30 years to make money in real estate.
Mm-hmm.
And you've had a few of those sellers.
Yes.
So go,
Yeah.
I'll sit back and drink my water. You go ahead.
So a friend of mine I was talking to about a month ago knows I've been doing real estate. He's a painter. And he said, I was thinking of getting into real estate. So I called my real estate agent. Like, okay, wrong. I mean, if you want to be an investor, you have to find your own properties and minimize expense and get better deals than a realtor will usually get you, unless you're buying a.
It is a way to do it. It's just
you have to get a
better
bank.
way.
Yeah, you have to get a bank property and renovate and get a good price. Fight all the other guys looking for the bank property because the guy doesn't know anything. That's fine, but he has the mentality of just being conventional. So I've talked to a few people, a guitar student of mine, some landlords, and they bought one house. They saved up the down payment. They bought the property, 2-family, 3-family, one, whatever it is, and they rent it out, and that pays for the mortgage, so it's paying for itself. 5 years later, they save up another 20% and buy another piece of property, and someday they're 65, have 5 properties, and when they sell them, they'll have their money if they live that long.
Right.
But these guys were banged up knees, their back was out of whack. They could barely keep up functioning, fixing the house. And how are they going to go have fun with their money? They can barely go swimming.
Right.
So they put all their eggs into the someday when I retire bag.
Right.
I'm too young for that. I want to have fun today, this weekend.
Right.
So the situation I'm in right now with you, I have a couple of houses. One's renovated on sale. One's being renovated. So I know I'll get a decent chunk of cash from those. But I'm thinking, I need some more, and I don't have any, but I can very quickly find a lease option. As soon as I get a few minutes, I'm almost done with all the prep work on the renovation. I know I can just, damn it, really need money now.
Right.
Bang, find some other properties, 30 days, 60 days, have money.
Right.
And do it again. Money now, money monthly, money later, and build up for the later too.
Right.
It can be later. I have a condo. I'll own it in 10 years. I'm getting cash flow. I'm getting equity. And in 10 years or less, I would own it. Perfect when I'm really old and just thank you for the money coming in. So you can do it where you get money now and the money later. So your systems are great.
Good. So thank you.
Is that what I was supposed to say?
That's fine. What I was thinking is that I think one of the biggest myths in real estate, this is like, if you can get through this, then you can actually get on the yellow brick road and see the Oz.
Mm-hmm.
I really believe that.
Mm-hmm.
And here's the myth, that the way to make money in real estate is to buy low and sell high.
Yeah. Well, how about speculating that you think it'll go up? You think it'll go down?
Yeah. And most uneducated investors will use appreciation as a profit center, which we never talk about.
You
we
can't
don't
count
talk
on
about
that.
Appreciation because that's just a bonus for us.
No, people ask me, how's the market? I don't care how the market is.
Right.
I care about that one house,
Right.
the price of that one house, and if I can sell that one house.
Right.
Because each house is an economy on its own,
Right.
In a sense.
And you buy and sell within a market.
Yeah, within an area, within a time period where
Right.
things aren't going to change too fast on you. So you know
Right.
what you're dealing with. What if it goes up really high, up really low? You're dealing with a current situation, so you know the game, and you do your numbers based on that.
So what you're saying is that if somebody buys a house in the year 2018
Mm-hmm.
and they hang on to it and then expect to sell it in 2030,
Mm-hmm.
you're concerned about markets.
Mm-hmm.
But if you buy a house in 2018 and you sell it in 2018, then really what's the difference? Because it's all within the same market.
Yeah.
So it's when you move through markets, you go from one market to another is where you get in trouble, where you hear the horror stories.
Yeah, the time-wise.
Right.
The market changed. I mean, the market could be an area, but
Right.
if you're talking about time-wise, the market changes over time. It goes up, it goes down,
And it goes the other way because how many people have houses that they owe for too much money and then they rent them and wait for time to catch up?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which brings us so the myth is that the way to make money with real estate is to buy low and sell high,
Mm-hmm.
which is correct, except what most people, the myth about it is it's the only way.
Mm.
So there are other ways to make money with real estate. You just said it a few minutes ago. It's money now, money monthly, money later. So often I will not only pay full asking price, but pay over full asking price if I have cash flow. Like, for example, I have a deal I'm working on now, which I've neglected the last day or so, but I actually have a deal where I'm paying up for the property. I'm paying an extra 20 grand for the property. But, but I have like $800 a month in cash flow.
Wow. That's awesome.
Right? So does it matter how much I'm paying for the house?
Not really.
I mean, it's what, $9,200 a year
Mm-hmm.
in cash flow, right? So
96.
$9,600 a year. So
Yeah.
say it's 10 grand, right?
Yeah.
So if I hold that property for 5 years, I made 50 grand.
Uh-huh.
Not on the equity, on the cash flow.
Right. Because when you're talking like how much something's worth, that's just the equity part.
Right.
Later, what you're going to sell it for. But you're making money as it goes, so you're ahead of the game, plus what you're going to sell it for.
Right. So when I'm sitting with a seller and they're telling me they want to sell me their house for $195,000 and it's worth $195,000 and they're stuck on $195,000, not even taking in consideration that there's 12 to 15% selling costs. They're not,
Right.
even if we show them that, they're not going to believe us. Some people, because they're stubborn on that number. And I love those deals because to me, here's exactly what happens. And this is such a weird way to explain it. But when somebody says, I want $195,000 for my $195,000 house, and I'm not taking a penny less, it's in my mind, I mentally get up, I walk away from the deal. Like suppose I'm in the living room. I walk out the front door, I walk around the house and come in the back door.
Mm-hmm.
And then sit back down and have a whole different conversation with them. Okay, well, I'll pay you $195,000, but here's how it works.
Here's how it works.
And then I structure the deal so that I can cash flow because their mindset is it's like an ego thing or a pride thing. They want to brag. I got $195,000.
What'd you pay for the realtor? Oh, I didn't pay real. I got this guy to pay me.
Yeah, you know what I mean? So it's bizarre, but it happens. Having made thousands and thousands of offers, nose to nose, toe to toe, I'm just telling you this is what I saw. I'm not going to try to explain it. I'm not a psychologist. I don't want to be one. Point is people are people. And I've bought a lot of houses that way. Right? So you could cash flow. The other thing is that we talked about not too long ago, which is you don't have to wait. Sometimes it's good to wait. Like, for example, the last meetup we did, I had a house where I talked about, I think the house was worth, I forgot the numbers. I think it was worth 160 and he owed 180.
Mm.
Right? So what I did is I signed a lease option agreement with the guy for 10 years. And the reason why is because I needed the time to pay down the debt and let the equity catch up.
Yep.
So in that case, time was a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I cash flowed every month. Or if you can't cash flow, then why not go in and just get a fee for finding the buyer? Which is usually done in the down payment money. And if you want to know how to do all that, and you've not heard me say that before, just go to flippinghousesforrookies.com and it's all there.
Mm-hmm.
But there's like 3 or 4 ways we just talked about to make money that had nothing to do with equity. I mean, it had everything to do with equity, but there was no equity.
Right.
Right? So one of it is okay, just rent, do a lease option with your seller. In other words, rent to own with your seller. You rent from them with the option to own.
Mm-hmm.
Go find a buyer that will rent from you to own and get in the middle and get cash flow. Right?
Sure.
Or don't stay in the middle because the payment's too high and just say, okay, Mr. Seller, I'll pay $100,000. Right? Because the house is worth $100,000. Go find Mr. Buyer for $105,000. Have Mr. Buyer give you a $5,000 deposit, and you keep the $5,000 deposit, and you just made $5,000.
Mm-hmm.
And all you did was shuffle around paperwork.
Mm-hmm. And a little bit of marketing.
Who else talks about that? So when you hear you don't have to wait, that's how you do it now. That's how you do it in days instead of years, because you go find that person that wants to sell, and you go find that person that wants to buy, and you're a matchmaker.
You know what's wild about this? We're all taught to follow the rules. And you have to go to the bank. You have to get a pre-qualification. You have to use a realtor, or you have to sell the house yourself, and you can only be this way. And we think that there's rules and how things have to go, and there really is not restrictions on a lot of what you do in life.
Right.
You have to keep things legal and all that. But what if there was no rules about houses? Think about this for a minute, folks. There's no rules. And you're sitting there, and there's a seller sitting there, and you can just make up whatever you could fathom to think of what might help the person and yourself.
Right.
And all these strategies are that. It's just,
Right.
what can you think of? What can you make up that might work? Well, if we do this, and I've seen you in houses,
Right.
you have on the phone. You had last week on the phone. You ran 4 strategies on someone in like 10 minutes until you found one that seemed to work for them.
Right.
It was beautiful. And you just like, how about if we do this? No, well, wait a minute, we could do this. Well, if that doesn't work for you, how about that? And you just kept going until you found something that seemed to fit their situation, because
Right.
there really aren't rules, because that person owns the house. That's their house.
Right.
If they want to do something, they can. The government doesn't run your life. Neither does the bank nor the realtor.
Right.
If you work with them, you have to follow rules to be fair.
Right.
But otherwise, your fairness is being worked out with the person directly.
Yeah,
So where's the rules?
The thing that I think you're saying is that what I do is I do my presentation and figure out how much equity or profit they have in the house.
Mm-hmm.
And then I work with that profit because that's what they're in control over.
Yeah.
So if they've got a $30,000 profit, then that's what they're trying to get to, is that profit.
Yeah.
So I'm asking them, how do you want your profit? Will you take it monthly? Will you take it, in a year from now and 2 years from now? Oh, you want it right now? Okay, I can't give you 30. I can only give you 10.
Mm-hmm.
You want to wait? Okay, I'll give you 30. And that's really what it comes down to.
Yeah.
But
you have the flexibility to change the number of
Right.
the time, the amount, payments, and you work that out. So it's there's a freedom there to work with the seller and find out what can work and what can be done.
So this brings us to a very valid point. And if I had to say the one thing you could learn from this podcast, I think this is probably the most underrated, but the most important thing that you can get from probably the last 50 podcasts. And I kid you not. Where the lack of belief on whether you can do this or not comes from is your uncertainty of being able to sell the house. So if you were 100% certain every offer you made, you were 100% certain no matter what you did, you could sell that house. Whether you made a profit or not, you could just sell that house. Your offers would change. You would do more. Your belief system would be increased, and you would go out and make offers. And I honestly believe that's what people don't believe, is they don't have confidence that they can sell the house no matter what. Does it make sense? You're looking at me like a deer in the headlights.
No. It makes so much sense. How am I going to say? I was thinking of saying, well, Bill, should we be talking more about how to sell houses then?
Right.
Because there's a way to teach. This is an education way. There's a way to teach that starts at the end and works backwards.
Right.
Like the best way to teach somebody to drive a car.
Yeah.
Show them how to use the brake.
Right.
Just to take your foot off the brake, put it back on, take it off, and really just
Right.
get used to using the brake, but you're not driving. Just take it off, the car will go, then hit the brake.
Right.
So it doesn't break your face on the dashboard.
Right.
And then work your way back from then, because that's what a person would be afraid of driving a car. Like, what if I crash? How do I stop it?
Right.
Yeah, I totally get your point.
So what stops a lot of people is that they think they're going to get stuck with this house. So let's just take that concept for a second, because this is not unimportant.
Oh no.
This is huge. So if I were to rent a house from you, right, and told you as I was doing the deal that I'm not going to start paying you until I find my buyer and they start paying me,
Mm-hmm.
and I need 90 days to do that, then what have I risked?
Hurting somebody's feelings. Or
Exactly.
disappointing somebody, or just sorry it didn't work out.
Which I understand that, but if you are, if you truly tried and had a system of keeping track of what you tried to do and showed that to your seller, they wouldn't be disappointed in you.
No, they know you did. You did way more for me than my realtor did.
Right.
So I appreciate your effort. What's wrong with my house? What do I do now?
Right.
What's wrong with my
It humbles
situation?
them. Yeah.
Yeah, because you've worked. People have been in the house and all that.
So that's the part that I struggle with is, as a person that does it all the time or every day, as a person that, when people say they want to do real estate, is first of all, you got to understand that the simplest thing in the world to do is to call up somebody that has a house for rent and say to them, would you be willing to rent to own?
Mm-hmm.
Or would you be willing to lease it to me with an option to purchase?
Mm-hmm.
And somebody will say yes if you make enough phone call.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, it's going to sell someday.
So now watch this. So basically what I just told you is you just got a house without a loan.
Yeah.
So now here's the interesting thing. Okay? You put an ad on Craigslist. I don't care. On Zillow. And here's what the ad says. Take a couple variants of it, okay? House for sale. No bank qualifying. Credit doesn't matter. Do you think you're not going to find somebody that will want that house? Here's another one. House for sale. Owner financing. I won't look at your credit.
I like that. I won't look at your credit.
Right? You think somebody wouldn't find that ad? That's a unique selling proposition that will attract a lot of people. Unique selling proposition. It is different than what everybody else does, thus unique.
And those are motivated buyers.
Exactly.
They're
pre-qualified.
Yeah.
Because they called the ad.
Yeah.
So you go to freedomvoice.com and rent a phone number for $9 a month, and you put a free recorded message on there. Hey, I'm an investor, and I found somebody that wants to lease me their house, and I need to get somebody in there, and are you interested? I don't care what you say. Just say something.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty much, I have this piece of property at 123 Main Street, and your credit doesn't matter. We'll help you get a mortgage later on, but it's a 2-year lease, and you have to have a deposit.
Mm-hmm.
How much do you
How
have?
much? What's the most you could put down?
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So one of the things is that you people don't believe that they can actually sell the property, and they think they're going to get caught with it.
Well, if you haven't done sales or marketing or promotion, you don't know what flows are like in this world.
Right.
And the truth is, if you have a decent product and good marketing and a public that needs you,
Right.
it gets crazy.
Right.
If you're not used to getting phone calls, you don't think anyone's going to call.
Right.
But you do this, and it won't be long before you want a service taking your calls for you. I swear to God, the phone rings. If you don't believe it, make one up.
Right.
Make one up. Make an ad up and say, I'm sorry, it's sold. Don't have to put a property address, house for sale, pick a city.
Don't deceive anybody, but you're absolutely right. So just put one of the ads I just spoke about, put it on Craigslist, and when they call, say I sold the property, and you'll see for yourself.
Sorry, it's not for sale anymore because it never was. Yeah. But the phone rings off the hook.
Right.
So it's not hard to sell, and you're right. That would take a lot of fear out of somebody trying this.
Right. And if they believe that they can do it, then all of a sudden the things we're teaching them will start to stick. Because what's that saying? The teacher doesn't arrive until the student's ready or something like that.
When the student is ready, the teacher will arrive.
I mean, that happens to my coaching clients. They pay me tons of money to help them. And I'll go over stuff, and we're on calls, and they talk about it. And then all of a sudden they get a deal, and it's like the chalkboard got erased. They didn't remember anything I told them. Now all of a sudden it's their money and their ass on the line, and they have to make the phone call and actually talk to the person. So they're like, okay, what do I say? And they're writing it down now.
Yeah.
Where before they were just listening to it. Now they're writing it down, and they're like trying to role play with me, right? Because all of a sudden now they have to do it. And that when you get to that point, then you're golden. So that's what I'm trying to do here is get you to understand that you can sell a house. You're not going to get stuck with it.
Yeah. Well, believe it or not, I'm excited about today's show because I learned there's such a thing called a motivated buyer.
Yeah.
Do we talk about it like that?
I have, but once again, because you have a house or two that we have for sale.
Yeah.
And you're trying to sell them, so all of a sudden it resonated with you.
Yeah.
It's just exactly what I'm talking about with other students just happened with you.
Yeah.
Because up until this point, you weren't. It wasn't a problem you were trying to solve, so it didn't come off as a really good solution.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah. But there are motivated sellers and motivated buyers. That makes a business easy. So people need to recognize that there are both
Right.
when you do the system a certain way.
So let's move on to something that's very apropos to what we're talking about, but it is another point, right? So how about this one? You have to have money to make money.
Oh, forget it. That's not going to work because most of the people I know, including me, get into real estate because we don't have any money.
Right.
Excuse me. Excuse us for being broke.
Oh, we pushed it. We hit a chord with Peter.
No, but I know a lot of people. They're in this because they don't have money.
Right.
So that's why a lot of people don't start. But with several of the systems you have, you don't need the money.
Right.
I'm sorry. It's just funny.
The truth is, if you don't know how to make money without money,
Mm-hmm.
you damn well aren't going to make money with money.
You'll probably blow it and waste it.
And I've had coaching clients do that.
Yeah.
In fact, on my coaching group, and I keep about 20 of them, which, by the way, lately they are rocking. I mean, just this week alone, we had a couple sign contracts. Last week, a couple signed.
Yeah,
They're
every week.
kicking my ass. I mean, I'm concerned. I mean, I have a couple that are gonna go because they're moving on. So I have a couple slots, but I'm concerned for me because I'm having a little bit of trouble keeping up with them because they're just so active. I mean, I think 90% of them at this point are in a transaction.
Yep.
Either buying or selling, or some of them are in multiple transactions. And it's completely because of this group. I mean, some of them are like, I've got a brand new girl out in Oregon that I talked to way too much. It was not part of our agreement, but I wanted to do a deal. And she's calling for sale by owners and getting deals, talking about deals with one or two phone calls. And they're free and clear deals, and she's into like these sophisticated deals that are heavy duty profit centers, and she's blowing them because of her lack of knowledge and knows it. So she's all over me to help her. She's all over the materials because she went from just what we're talking about, like this really can happen, to she's on the phone and these people are saying, yeah, I'll do that.
Holy crap.
Yeah, I'll do that. And then doesn't know how to handle it. So she's on the other end. She's like, this really does work. She's like totally a believer. This really does work. So now she's like honing her skills.
Yep.
And she'll get it. It doesn't take forever to do it. It just takes a couple times to screw up, and then you'll get really good, right? Which is the point with the money, is you're going to screw up. You're going to screw up. Did you get that?
Yeah, and it doesn't mean you're going to do something like necessarily bad or hurtful. It's just you're not going to do it exactly right, and you might lose. Because what I learned from you is that there's steps involved.
Right.
You have to get each step kind of right, to do the next step to move on. So if you don't do a step right, it might fall apart.
Right.
No one screamed, no one yelled, but sorry, it didn't work out. But you'll learn every time you do that.
Right.
So why not start at the beginning like she did and
Right.
find out it does work, get excited, and keep going.
Right. So it's the law of averages.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So now pay attention to this.
Yes, Bill. I'm listening deeply.
So if you could lease a house, right?
Yep.
And not have the lease initiate until you find your buyer. Okay? There is absolutely no obligation there. There's no... See, when you buy a house with the MLS and you go get private money, you're personally guaranteeing it. With the lease, there's no personal guarantee. So if there's no personal guarantee on the note, then what risk is there?
Well, there is none. And if someone thinks, well, who would do that? Well, I hate to tell you, but when you hire a realtor, don't they make you wait 6 months?
Right.
With no guarantees that they're going to sell your house. At the end of 6 months, they don't buy the house from you, do they?
Right.
So this is only half the time to
Right.
see if you can get a buyer to lease.
Right.
So it's the same type of thing.
Correct. So you have no financial obligation, or you're not personally guaranteeing anything.
Nope.
At all.
Nope.
So isn't that making money without money?
That's right. Well, you have to work before you make money.
Right.
You have to sow the seed, harvest the crop before you make food. So it's always the way it should be. You work, then you get paid.
Correct. So here's what happens. You do a few of those deals and you get used to doing the deals. You get used to the transactions. You get used to talking to people. And then when you come across a deal like I just had, a $150,000 two-family house that I bought for $58,000, you write a check because you can.
Yeah. You get to that point.
And here's another amazing thing. There's an amazing thing about this. Okay? You don't pay cash for a house. You don't have to pay cash for a house. Unless it's such a slamming, hot, banging deal that it gets you and your private investor completely, utterly excited.
Mm.
Then you pay cash. Otherwise, you pay monthly. You pay on terms, as we talk about. You say, can I make you monthly payments until I can get you paid off? Which, by the way, who's paying off the loan?
Buyer.
The buyer. So basically what happens is when you're buying a house on the MLS, the bank wants their money right away. So if you're an investor looking to do things without time, right, then you need to have money.
Mm-hmm.
So when people say you have to have money to make money, yeah, those are the people that don't know how to actually do real estate investing. They're actually lazy investors. They have money, and they want somebody to go find a deal for them, and all they got to do is read a couple documents to make sure their money's protected, stroke a check, and send the money. It's kind of like how most people treat the stock market, right? Let somebody else do it for me, right?
Sure.
Where what we do isn't that way. It takes a little bit of work, right? But look what you can get.
Well, if you're starting out like most of us, needing some money, you're willing to work.
Right.
Because we're already working and not making enough money. So working the right way to make more money would be very smart. And then if you become one of those guys, then you can become the fat, lazy investor someday. Right. By the way, if you are the fat, lazy investor and have money to invest, my phone number is...
Pete.
It's my birthday. My phone number is... my email, text me at... My Twitter account is... And my bank account is...
And if I'm not there,
my wife will take your message and your routing number, and she's my bookkeeper. She'll accept your funds
and bring you donuts.
We guarantee 6% interest.
6%. All right. So basically, what are we talking about right now? We're talking about leveraging your knowledge or your mind instead of your wallet or your credit.
Mm-hmm.
So thus, how do you buy real estate without a loan?
Do what Bill says.
No, it's not what I say, but I mean, that's why I created the course, How to Buy Real Estate Without a Loan, which you can find at flippinghousesforrookies.com.
Mm-hmm.
Right, and if you think that's some sales pitch, then there's one of your problems.
Yeah. Talk to the people that bought houses on it after a couple weeks.
Just last month, I think I know of 3 people, and girls, by the way. Not that I'm being chauvinistic. They're like,
even girls can do it.
They're like women that have kids and stuff like that. I mean, they're just average people.
Yeah.
3 of them bought the course, and within the month, bought houses.
Followed instructions.
They just sat down. It took them, a day or so to go through the course. They just over the course of a couple of days, they watched the videos, which are not hard. Mm-hmm. They're very simple. They're step by step in a checklist format, just like everybody asks me for. Like, it's just do this step, do that step. And the interesting thing is you can skip them, because if you're not ready to do that, like if you're not going to sell a house, then you don't need to watch those videos. You need to buy a house. So watch the first 5 or 10 videos and go buy a house. Yeah. And then when you get the house, go watch the rest of the videos. When it's time for you to do the paperwork, go watch those videos. You don't have to watch all of it. Just watch the section you're on.
Well, you probably have to watch enough of them to get the confidence to do the first parts.
So I not only did that, but I just put Emma, when I say I haven't written the sales letter. In fact, when you buy the course, you have no idea that this is going to happen because I haven't spent the time to write the sales letter. But check this out. Just what you said. What did you just say?
Well, you should do enough of the course to have the confidence to know that it will work so you can start at the beginning.
So
like the part about selling a house. If you're worried about selling a house, check that part out.
exactly, because I recognize that what we did is we did a 1 day, you and I did a 1 day seminar, a live seminar about the course, like all the steps.
Mm-hmm.
And what we did is I recorded it, and there's an audio file that's actually 4 audio files. I think Emma keeps saying it's 3 or 4. It's 4 audio
It's
files.
in sections.
Yeah, it's in 4 sections. You actually put it on your cell phone or your iPad, however you listen to files, and just listen to it for a couple of days.
Mm-hmm.
So you get the concept. So you don't have to sit in front of your computer and like watch these videos. Just listen to us chatting, because it was a mastermind group. There was only 10 of us in the room. It was very informal, and we just chit chat all day long, or 6 hours worth of how you do this.
Mm-hmm.
And it explains, and I go through the course on the computer. You know, I'm training them how to use the material. So this bonus that I just put in there, these people pay $300 or $400 to be there.
Yeah.
And you're going to get it in the course. And the point is that you just put it on your iPad or iPhone, however you listen to it, and just listen to it when you're in the car, when you're exercising. Just listen to it and absorb how it works. And then when you're ready, go back to the course.
You mean you could be listening to this information, how to make a bunch of money, be a realtor, real estate investor, a real investor, and instead of listening to the news and getting upset,
Right.
you could learn how to get something done in your life instead of listening to the baseball scores.
Yeah, and then not only that, but there was a workbook that I made. So you have a workbook and there's a transcript. So if you want to read it, so the bonus is you could read the transcript if you like to read better, or you can listen to the audio files. There you go.
Yep.
And then on top of that, and I'm off on a tangent now. On top of that, we also did a special episode, you, Naomi, and I, on the Quick Start checklist. So I put the Quick Start checklist in there, which we're selling that for a couple $100. So, I mean, there's like $500 or $600 worth of bonuses that are real life bonuses with shit that I'm really selling online right now.
Yep.
There's just no excuse for it. There's just the only excuse is you're not, like we started the show with, you're not ready. That's the only excuse.
Don't be a spectator.
Yeah, right. So we're back to that's how you leverage your mind. So I'm going to show you how to leverage your mind instead of your wallet and your credit. So yeah, I'm charging $500 for it, but honest to God, I will give you the course for free if you can find what I'm teaching you for less money.
Oh, it doesn't exist. Go ahead. Call me too.
I
I sat in one of those weekends that I paid almost as much for that course to get like a basic idea.
Right.
And I knew the next step would be like thousands of dollars,
Right.
That's when I called you. We started working. I'll go see Bill. It was $17,000
Yep.
for the next step.
And I could legitimately charge that for this course because I go through everything. I mean, I give you documents.
You got the
I
paper, you
give
got the
you all the
contracts.
marketing. I give you the contracts. I go step by step over every single contract, every little line, what to fill out and how to do it. And I do these like in short videos. They're not 4-hour videos. They're like 20-minute videos. Like I sit down and say, here's how you fill out a lease option lease form. That's what I'm trying to say.
Mm-hmm.
And like 15 minutes later, 20 minutes later, you've done it. You print the form right on the thing, and you sit down and with a pen and you fill it out as I'm showing you. I don't know anybody. I'm sorry, I just don't. Anyway, so that's leveraging your mind. That's the point that I'm trying to make.
Good.
Is leveraging your mind instead of your wallet, right?
Yep, got it. Leverage your mind, because some of us don't have much wallet.
Right.
Although I'm doing well.
So the law that I want you to walk away from today with, from this bullet point, and then we're going to move on, which we're kind of running out of time here, is always buy houses as if you're broke. And you will learn how to buy houses. Always buy houses as if you're broke. So the best thing in the world to think with when you're buying a house is you're broke. So the myth that you must have money to make money is completely that. I know we spent a lot of time on it, but it's a huge part of what people have to get.
Well, aren't people that are successful and have money, aren't they tight?
A lot of them are.
Yeah. That's how they got there. They didn't
And they're
become
fearful.
tight.
And they're fearful. A lot of people with money are fearful.
They're afraid of losing it.
Yeah.
The more I have, it's more like, I got to hang on to it. But my point is that they're tight because that's how they got there. They didn't become tight. Oh, I got money, I got to keep it now. They've always been like careful and like conscientious with their money and not just waste it and blow it. Those guys are broke and always will be broke. Like the guy who wins the lottery and he has no more money left a year later.
So here's the point. I just had the glorious experience of going through a pregnancy with my daughter. And she had baby Max, who's only 4 months old, 3.5 months old. 3 months old. I'm being corrected. 3 months old.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And there's something that was very obvious that none of us have talked about. Little Max did not come out of mommy's belly with a wallet strapped to his ass and some credit cards and some cash. So we all start in this world with nothing. So the guy that has money started in this world with nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Now, he may have inherited it, which is another story, but most of us don't have that opportunity.
Nope.
Most wealthy people have created it themselves, and they leveraged it from their own minds.
Yep.
And what I'm trying to tell you is that I'm going to give you just a short runway of education so you can use that leverage to make your own wealth. Okay? I'm going to move on because I'm going to come back to this, but for right now I'm going to move on. Right?
Okay.
So one of the things that I talked about, another myth is getting wealthy is a win-lose situation. A lot of people think, like, if I'm negotiating with you, I have to take something away from you to make money. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes. Well, that's what people think. There's only so many marbles on the table, and they shuffle back and forth.
Right. Which is so not the truth. Right? So there's this myth that drives me freaking nuts. I said frickin'. I didn't say that word. I want to use the other word. It drives me nuts. And here it is. The saying goes like this. The rich get richer, and the poor get poorer.
Ooh. Ouch.
I hate it.
Ouch.
Because here...
Well, first of all, it's divisive. Right. That means that all rich people are bad and all poor people are poor victims. They're not really nice people, but they're poor victims. And that's not the case.
Right. So, to me, and I'm going to read what I wrote here so I get it right, because this is how it came out of my head, and I read it again after when I was proofreading. I'm like, holy shit, that's pretty good. Okay, let's pat myself on the back.
Attaboy.
Of course, this is just media hype and inaccuracies of our education system. That's what that is. Truth is, you being poor will benefit no one, especially the rich. You being poor will benefit no one, especially the rich. Because the thing is a lot of wealthy people have created their wealth through real estate. So suppose they own apartment buildings. Who's going to rent from them if everybody's poor?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
They create these office buildings. They go in and build shopping centers. Who's going to pay their rents if everybody's poor?
One of my students owned one, and when things crashed, he had to quit lessons because businesses crashed because things went bad, and he ran out of money.
Right.
Half empty commercial buildings.
Right.
So it doesn't help anybody.
If you go back to the last thing that we were talking about, and if you can create money without money, then when that happens, those are the most valuable lessons in your life. Yeah. Because you know how to do it.
A really wealthy person is a pirate and a bum who he might crash his whole income and he just goes and does it again. He makes a fortune, loses it, makes a fortune. See, a guy can do that. Right. He doesn't worry about losing it because he knows he can make it again.
Make it back.
He knows how to do it.
Right.
But the rich kid or the rich parents will blow the money and they're all it goes up their nose or something. They're broke.
That's right. So that's an interesting point. A little bit of a side note. I know we're kind of running out of time here, but what's the definition of scarcity mentality? It's a guy that doesn't think he can earn it again. So he's trying to keep it. Bankers are like that. Bankers, very conservative. Yeah. Very conservative. They're afraid if they lose the money, it won't come back again. Right? So check this out. What if you lived in a town, right, that had mostly poor people in it?
Ooh.
What would that be like?
Not good. I mean, there wouldn't be money from the general collection of taxes for streets and for parks, and the place would be run down. And they couldn't have a parade. Education wouldn't be so hot. Healthcare, forget it.
Pete,
Yeah.
you live in that town.
Oh no, I live in Newington.
You
No, I live in
live-
West Hartford. I moved to West. No,
You
what?
live in that town, and so do I.
Yeah.
Because I'm not talking about poor enough where you can't get by.
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking about poor where you can't get ahead.
Yeah.
And most people live in that town.
Yep.
I'm not talking about poor enough like you don't have food and like what you're saying, no,
No.
can't pay taxes.
No.
I'm talking about middle class poor
Well,
where you can't build wealth.
an easy question. Ask anybody. Do you have enough money?
Yeah.
And most people say no.
Right.
So that's poor.
Yeah.
It's poor enough.
Yeah.
That what your mind is on is not having the money.
Right.
And when I have that problem, which I have sometimes,
Yep.
I just say, honey, let's go make some money.
Right.
What can we do? And just get real busy making money. It feels way better to do that than worry about what you don't have.
So I'd like to arrogantly correct you.
Okay.
Making money. You don't make money, you create it. It's in your mind.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I was talking about before.
Mm-hmm.
If you leverage your mind,
Yeah.
you do things like what we're talking about, and you get just a little bit of training, just understand some of the basics, you could create your own wealth. Okay?
Yep.
Create your own wealth.
Well, that's a good difference because most people, my wife has a bookkeeping job beside what we do.
Right.
That's making money. You work,
Right.
you get paid. We're talking about actually creating. You're right. It's a whole different thing. I think, honey, what can we do? What would be smart to do? How about if we, and you're thinking of some creative,
So we
smart things
talk
to do.
about valuable final products. So what product can you complete that's valuable to somebody else?
Yeah.
Maybe it's hot dogs. Maybe it's giving people houses that they normally couldn't afford.
Right.
Maybe it's buying houses that maybe some people can't sell.
Yep.
And putting the two of them together.
Very noble.
Right.
People say a house is your most, is your biggest, least physical asset.
Right.
So to do that is a huge service.
Right.
So when you're doing this, I would probably suggest that don't just look at your part of the story, like how much money you want to make out of this. Think of the people you're helping.
Right.
Because that's the only way you're going to get there.
Right.
And you do that. I mean, I watch you. I've seen you talk to people and tell them, you know what, I don't think I should buy the house. Why don't you try this instead?
Right.
You've given them other options beside you. And if it comes around that you buy it, you buy it. If not, you're actually happy to help them with the problem that doesn't make you a dime.
Right.
And call me if you need any help, and you walk away.
Yep.
That's really the right attitude.
It's a law of average.
Mm-hmm.
Just because I know. Here's what we...
But you're not doing it just because you're going to make the house. You're actually doing it because you're trying to help the person a bit.
Right.
And you know you'll be okay in the end.
So something I learned a while ago is I don't believe in scarcity, and I don't believe in shortages. I don't believe that we are lacking anything on planet Earth.
Well, they've been complaining about that since the Roman era 2,000 years ago. So
Well, it's not.
they've been saying that forever.
They say it, but if you observe what happens, we have plenty of oil.
No, it's mismanagement.
Yeah, it's the news and education systems.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it is. They want us to believe a certain thing.
We ran out of oil in the 70s.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
I
But
used to
yet,
remember those lines?
here we are still doing
Oh.
it. Right. So, but I honestly do believe, with that statement said, there is one commodity that planet Earth does not have enough of, and we can actually run out of. I do believe that. Are you interested in what that is?
Yeah, I'm not going to guess either. I'd never get it right. What?
Help.
Ooh. Perfect.
Help.
Perfect.
For some reason, a lot of people have trouble with that. They can't receive it and they can't give it.
Mm.
And I kid you not, if you want to be me, God knows why you would want to do that. But if you want to be me and you want to be able to have complete wealth, which we aren't going to cover today because, by the way, to me, I've had my money and I've lost it a couple of times. I get both ends of the spectrum. You know, this is such a crude way to say it, but I remember when I was a kid, I had a girlfriend. I was my early 20s, and I had a girlfriend that was, in her mid 30s, and she was a sex fiend. She had to have sex all the time, And it taught me a valuable lesson because up until then, had a scarcity mentality on sex. Was thinking, oh, yeah, well, I got to do whatever, just being a guy, right? And then when she came along, I had too much. And it taught me a more valuable lesson. Because when you have too much of something, it changes your perspective of how it is. Right? And so I actually had too much money. And there's more problems attached to having too much money than there is not having money. Believe it or not, there's more problems with having too much money than there is with not having enough. And what I learned is that money is just an energy. It just moves around to get you what you want, that happiness you want. Maybe it means you get up in the morning, you don't have to go to work, and you get the day off. After a while, you get too many days off, you'll be tired of it. Maybe it means you can buy a boat so you can go fishing on Saturday. After a while, too many Saturdays will get boring to you. And after a while, you will have to learn what truly makes you happy, which I found out the true definition of happiness is not the goal. It's the steps and the experiences of getting to the goal. And that's true happiness. Attaining those micro steps. And that's what makes you happy. Oh, I accomplished that. Oh, I made that FSBO call and it went well. I made that offer and I met some really nice people and it went well. And then I found, this is like a Bill's diary at this point. I found that the only thing that truly made me happy was helping other people. And I live by it. You know that. You're with me all the time. You know that.
That's what I just said. And I don't know where you're headed with this, but that's what I see you do. That's what I like to. When I teach music, I'm helping someone.
Right.
I do other things there with them too. If something else comes up, I try.
And there is no human feeling more beneficial than knowing you helped someone. So it's your obligation. It's your duty. It's your responsibility to make money exchanging valuable final products with others. It's your responsibility to your family. It's your responsibility to your peers. It's your responsibility to do that. And what I'm telling you is you don't have to swap hours to do that. You can do it with the product. If it takes you 15 minutes to talk to a for sale by owner and it takes you an hour at their house to do the paperwork and you spend an hour and 15 minutes to make $30,000, yay. Because you can do that.
Mm-hmm.
It's leveraging your mind. And I teach you how to do that with my no buy real estate with no money down or no loan course.
Yep.
Okay? I know we're past the hour, but I want to do this just to prove my point, and then we'll get out of here, okay?
Sure.
You ready? I did some math.
Oh, go.
Okay? Think of this. Exactly what we're talking about. Think of this. Suppose you had $10 million worth of real estate. Would that be wealthy?
Sounds it to me.
Good. Imagine this. Now, I'm telling you, I'm thinking big here, okay? I want the people listening to think big. But yet it's with simple strategies. So you got $10 million worth of real estate with $9 million worth of unsecured debt. In other words, you didn't personally guarantee it.
Mm.
Would that be cool?
So you're networking, you're on $1 million by doing that.
Yeah.
Yep.
You're worth $1 million.
Yeah.
That's at the present time. I mean, once you pay everything off, it'll be worth more than $1 million.
Yeah, it grows then.
Right? But you could have $10 million worth of debt with $9 million worth of unsecured, no personal guarantee, doing what we're talking about. Mm-hmm. Now watch this. You ready for this number?
Yeah.
If each house was worth $150,000, which is a low number, it takes 66 houses.
Wow.
If you did one a month or 12 a year, it would take you 5 years.
Mm-hmm. That's a great 5-year plan.
And I'm going to give that to you for $500. That's not the reason why I'm here because we got into it.
Yeah, but you are here for that because part of your plan is that you want to enable anybody listening to be able to do this, so anyone could have some wealth with real estate. And this is the only way you can do it. Can you give it away for free?
No.
You can't because nobody would buy it for free. They wouldn't even take it.
They
for
wouldn't
free.
believe it. They wouldn't take
They
it
wouldn't
serious.
believe it. So you have the price as ridiculously low as possible because it just helps people and it keeps us moving along. And then we go buy houses.
So let's do it again. $10 million worth of real estate with $9 million worth of non-recourse, no personal guarantee debt.
Yeah.
So you got $1 million in cash,
Mm-hmm.
or $1 million in equity, which you can leverage,
Mm-hmm.
right? And the average house is $150,000, which is ridiculous. I mean, if you did $200,000, it would be 50 houses.
Yeah, but we're told, and we're telling people that there's no risk in this, so might as well do a $400,000 house.
Right.
If you can find them, just do those in your neighborhood.
So 66 houses at $150,000 each. If you did one a month or 12 a year, that would be 5 years. Okay, so let's just say you're going to sit on your hands, and it's going to take you a while to believe me. So it takes you 10 years. You do 6 houses a year. It takes you 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
Is that worth it?
Well, every year your wealth would be increasing. So how horrible would that be?
Right.
It's still increasing.
Right. Here's an interesting thing. I'll leave you with this. There's a confusion on debt because there's good debt and bad debt. Kiyosaki talked about that in Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Right.
Good debt is debt that produces income. Bad debt doesn't produce income. I'm talking about good debt. I'm talking about $9 million because some people will be like, oh, I don't want $9 million worth of debt. It's a leverage point because here's what I'm not talking about. If you have $9 million worth of, I'm just talking about the equity. How much cash flow is that? I mean,
Oh, hell yeah.
Suppose you made $200 per door.
Yeah.
Right? So 66 times 200. I already know the answer, but that's $13,200 a month. So if you had 66 houses at the end of 5 years producing $200 per door, that's $13,000 a month. And $10 million worth of real estate. $13,000 a month times 12 months, that's $158,000 a year. And I have to tell you, those are disgustingly gross numbers. If you do that, I'm going to say you're not a very good investor. Because those are very low numbers. There's no reason why you can't do more than that. None. None at all.
Sounds good. Well, the more you do, the easier it gets.
Right.
And you start getting cash flow like that, you might not have to work as much at your job. You can spend more time doing the real estate and more time golfing, fishing,
Right.
and sunning yourself at the beach.
Or working your job because you love it.
Yeah. Or finding a job that you actually do care.
Yeah.
That maybe doesn't have money involved, or volunteer, or do what you really want.
At this particular point, I volunteer about 25 hours a week at a church. And I have no right doing that because I just don't have the time to do it. But I do it. And I feel good about it. All right, episode number 103. Name of the episode, Common Lies Most Investors Believe That Keep Them Poor. Most would like to or need to get profit checks from real estate investing in days, not years. If this is you, then this podcast is exactly what the doctor ordered and is completely talking to you. If you're worrying about how to get through a real estate deal so you can get paid, you're in the right place. Maybe you think you can't figure out property value and have anxiety, you will overpay. Perhaps you think you might lay awake at night wondering how to pay the bills for this property. Truth is, these voices in your head are holding you back. Listen to this podcast to answer these questions and feel more confident. The only thing that somebody might have some concerns about is property values, but if we bring the property to the market and sell it before we obligate to it is exactly where I'm talking about why worry about property values. Because if we tell our seller that we aren't going to start paying them until the buyer comes in the property, then we don't have to worry about the property values. Because if it's the wrong property value, you're not obligated. You can come back to the owner and say, hey, you covered that earlier. Hey, it's not worth it because we had this many people look at it and they said this. Right?
Yeah, so at some point he has to either keep the house or make adjustments, be flexible, and do what's actually realistic.
Exactly. So I think we covered everything, huh?
Pretty good.
Any
A
questions?
No, sir.
Couple.
No, I'm going to save it. I'm going to a couple extras and a few extra bonuses thrown in, and anything else we're going to save for next week. Tune in for more surprises.
Over and out.
Thanks for tuning in to the hottest real estate topics on the planet with Bill and Pete. If you want to continue learning how to buy and sell real estate without money or credit, head over to flippinghouses.club for some cutting-edge real estate wealth tools. Or contact us at info@flippinghouses.club.